Question was asked before the break whether or not it should be on the labels of food, whether or not it's genetically modified or GMO wheat, or no, I shouldn't say wheat, or GMO product. Jeffrey Missling is here. He's Executive Vice President with the North Dakota Farm Bureau. Doyle Johannes is here. He's President of the North Dakota Farm Bureau. Woody Barth and Christy Carlson. Woody is the President of the North Dakota Farmers Union, and Christy is with the North Dakota Farmers Union as well. I don't care who goes first. I don't think we're going to disagree that much on this. But Doyle, I'll go with you. Should it be labeled when it's genetically modified food?
Well, obviously people want to know. People want to know where the food is coming from. But we feel that, there's studies done. You go through the grocery store. There isn't much in there that is not somehow biotechnology one way or another. If they want something labeled, I think they should go the other route. Let's label it what's not rather than what is.
You think it'd be easier?
I think so.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
Our policy calls for the freedom of ag producers and processors to label their products. So it'd be freedom to do so, tell American consumers what's in those products. We have no and accurately advertise those products. So we too are in favor of making sure that consumers know what their food is all about, but we feel GMO products are safe and good for consumers.
Let's get the listeners involved here. Katie, you are on with everybody in the room. I'll start naming them up, but Farmers Union Farm Bureau here. Katie, go ahead.
Thank you for having me on this morning. I consider myself to be part of a modern farming operation, and we do practices such as cover crops. We utilize technology so that we can reduce our inputs and be better stewards for the land and the environment. I'm wondering if both groups could expand on what they feel might be the impact or what the breadth and depth of what modern agriculture is, because it goes far beyond GMOs and farrowing traits.
Okay, I'm going to go to the Farmers Union side first, whichever one wants to go first. Go ahead, Christy.
Sure. Good morning, Katie. Well, we're fearful that without a clear definition in this amendment, it leaves it open for years and years of litigation. And unlike the current right to farm statute that is in place, there's no standard for that stewardship. The current statute requires that you act without negligence and that you act responsibly, and that's not in here. So that's kind of where our concern comes from.
Jeffrey?
We trust farmers and ranchers to do the right thing. And it, without labeling or without listing stewardship as being important, I know in my heart, having been on thousands of farms and ranches, that farmers and ranchers are going to do the right thing. We don't need to be told that. We're some of the original environmentalists and the people who are caring for that soil and the water, and that's why we've seen such gains in over the last several decades, actually. Reduction in soil erosion, improved water quality. So that isn't a concern. I don't think the trust factor so much, because they'd be doing that now. People would be destroying those resources now. So I guess I don't see that as much of an issue. To answer Katie's question, she's absolutely right. This stems so far beyond one simple little practice or issue. We're employing technologies today like no-till and minimum till systems that allows us to protect that soil and hold it in place so it doesn't wash away. So there are so many varieties of different practices out there. In the cattle industry, maybe branding an animal for identification purposes. It's a practice that's been around a long time, but it's still a modern practice because it's used today, it's employed today successfully on farms and ranches.
Okay, let's go to, if I hit the button right, Bud, you're on with everybody here. Go ahead, Bud. You there, Bud?
Hello?
And yet, we'll call back, Bud. You got to be quicker on the switch. Let's get to Jim. Jim, you're on.
Yeah. Say, my question would be, isn't there a reasonable likelihood that this constitutional measure could override our corporate farming law?
Okay.
It seems to me that if we pass this, ConAgra could show up and set up their own farm, and then we'd have to explain why corporate farming is not a modern farming practice.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Doyle, I'll go with you first on that.
Well, I just don't think that has anything to do, corporate farming, with what we're trying to do here. We're trying to protect practices, and I think corporate farming, that's about land ownership and all the rest of that. I don't see that has anything to do with what we're trying to do here.
Woody?
We would agree with that this constitutional amendment probably wouldn't affect North Dakota's anti-corporate farming law.
Okay, so that's one area we don't have to be concerned about. We can all agree on that.
We agree on that.
Okay, 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. Todd, you're on News and Views. Go ahead, Todd.
Morning, Joel. I think this measure is a bad idea. I'm actually a rancher. I think it's put in there to protect some of the practices utilized by the largest farmers, some of those that are actually problematic. We have people going out in big winds and spraying and killing their neighbors' gardens and trees and all that kind. And yeah, there doesn't tend to end up to be a lot of litigation out of it, but it's still wrong. I think if we put something like this in our Constitution, they would utilize that to say, well, we were just following modern practices. I heard something a week or so ago that said that many of the chemicals that we are now using in 10 years will be the new lead.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. I want to get to, I think, what was the heart of what Todd's comments was that this is just really aimed at the larger farmers. Doyle, I think you're going to probably want to address that.
Absolutely, and this couldn't be anything farther from the truth. This is about all agriculture. We are not promoting big farmers. We're not promoting organic. We're promoting agriculture in North Dakota, and there couldn't be anything farther than the truth. This doesn't give us a license to pillage and plunder and dump on the neighbor. Absolutely not. We want to be good stewards of the land and good neighbors and things like that. And that's just not right.
Woody or Gary, you want to respond to that?
I'll just respond by saying that we too are good stewards of the land. We believe we're good stewards. But again, this is constitutional amendment. This does need to be in the Constitution. We believe, as North Dakota Farmers Union members, that our state legislature understands agriculture, the important role of our economy that agriculture has. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize agriculture here in North Dakota, and we want to let family farmers and ranchers do what they do best, produce food, fiber, and feed.
Okay, let's get to Paul. Paul, you are on News and Views. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Joel. I just wanted to make a comment on when they were saying that this constitutional amendment has nothing to do with corporate farming. But I think if you read what Europe wants to do as far as sustainable farming, it could open the door very easily for corporations to have a certificate saying that this farm is more sustainable than another farm, and it could, in my opinion, indirectly start corporate farming up very easily.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We're back to the corporate issue. That's been a hot issue, and I'm not going to get either one of you to disagree with each other on what the measure does, so at least we let Paul get his views out. We've got some room for you on the phone lines at 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. But first, a butt chewing for Joel Heitkamp, which I think, quite frankly, Joel Heitkamp has coming. They're talking about in the email about, I'm glad you're doing this now. It should have happened before. A lot of people have already voted. So that I'll take the criticism of, and I'll do it again by saying thank you to the people who came into this room, because you can't do it without them. Kent, you're on with the Farm Union and Farm Bureau. Go ahead, Kent.
Yes, I want to ask the proponents of this a question. One of the real important practices of modern farming is our tile or surface drainage, either one. Now, we're being attacked, particularly by the NRCS, on our drainage practices. Would passing this back those type of things off from being so onerous for modern farming?
Okay, let's go to Woody first.
Again, that would be up to the local districts to do it, but would somebody that wants to drain use the word modern to defend themselves in draining that land and how that would affect downstream interests? So we have to clearly understand what this constitutional amendment would do, and we hope that it would, if it would pass, and of course we don't want it to pass, is that how it would affect draining and tiling, and how it affects family farmers and ranchers if they want to do that, opposed to what their neighbors' best interests are.
Christy?
And I'll add that, so with this question about what the language means about no law may abridge the right, we have real concerns, again, that would mean that local zoning wouldn't take precedent. And in fact, if this gets rid of all of those or really limits the local zoning and the state laws, what it leaves in place is federal law. So if you're concerned about federal law right now, just take note that that's probably going to be what will remain untouched by this constitutional
Okay,
amendment.
I want to give the Farm Bureau a chance to respond to that. Jeffrey?
Well, this is an amendment to the state constitution, so it in no way impacts federal laws. So, I mean, they're going to remain the way they are today. This is a state constitutional amendment. The last word of the second sentence of our two-sentence proposed constitutional amendment is practices. And I cannot emphasize enough, the focus of this is specific to practices and the use of technology. It does not delve into zoning, and that's why it was written this way, to be that specific. Again, I think we have a lot of members in Farm Bureau who are county commissioners, township officers. They'd fire me and they'd unelect Doyle in a heartbeat if this in any way prevented them or precluded them from employing local zoning rules and ordinances.
Doyle, you got any words on this?
Well, no.
Okay, we're good there. 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. A mountain of email to get to.